Hi, everybody. This is Christos
Foster.
and this is our episode number 3. As promised, we are talking today a little bit about
Karma.
karma, and I hope we can enlighten you a little bit about what it is and especially what it's not, and hopefully we can clarify. No, we will clarify some misconceptions around it, because we have a combined how many years together in experience? About 60 years pretty much. And so we know what we're talking about, we know what we're working with, and we're going to give you a little bit of an insight because it is a subject I think that's been, I mean, it's
Misused.
misused quite a bit,
Misunderstood.
and misunderstood and then misused. Or first the one then the other, so you can pick what came first. But there's a lot of misunderstandings around it. And of course, when we talk about karma, we have to talk about contracts, soul contracts, influences, and that you're not, and we want to help you to understand, first of all, that you're not, um, uh, a puppet that just is here to live their whatever purpose. Um,
Karma does have to do with cause and effect.
right?
That there is a responsibility in your life for everything you say, you feel, you do, every action has a response. And so, after a while, as you evolve on Earth, you start to realize that this is a closed system. What you do here has repercussions. And they can have repercussions in other people's lives, in the whole planet. And this is more about what karma is, that everything you do has a responsibility, and that responsibility is on you. Now, karma is not something where if you, like many people say, if you do something, it comes back to you 3 times. That's not true.
It's not happening.
That was a fallacy. That is a Christian fallacy, and that's also a fallacy that Wicca started to believe from the Christians. And that is not true. So you want to say why there's no
Well,
repercussions in
we're
that
gonna we're
sense?
gonna talk about it. I think this is an important subject, but we want to first introduce you guys a little bit to the idea what karma really means, and again, also how very new age concepts and especially Wicca and especially spiritual groups are using the same Christian or the same religious motive of punishment
Ridiculous.
to control what people do and not do, basically. And that is just something that we are both highly allergic to. Karma
Is action.
is action, and karma is responsible action. It's also common sense action. That means karma is a framework that, for me, it's always part of the contract. Before we come here, before we go anywhere, by the way, Earth is not the only place of incarnation or experience, it's just one of it. But when we come here, which is the most toughest experience, I think, in the universe that we can have, because it's so limiting and so, um, yeah, it seems limiting for what we can do. But the idea is that we're here to especially learn that we can control the narrative of our experience. And that's what we call karma. You see, before India sent their gurus towards the West, the word karma didn't even exist, and then suddenly it became very popular to excuse every stupidity you make with, well, it's my karma. And we hear this a lot, right, with people. I have to be in this terrible relationship because it's my karma. I have to um, I have to do something because it's my karma, but it's my karma. Or like in India, they say, what have I done in my last life to deserve this? This is not karma. This is a very lazy way of thinking. And also, it's a hijacked way of thinking because, again, it's based on another version of punishment. And karma, we both agree with this, is not and has nothing to do with punishment, nothing to do with suffering, nothing to do with disempowerment. It's actually quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. And so, from a shamanic point, any kind of healing, of course, has to do with the Akashic records. The Akashic records, what we call Akashic records, is not the only Akashic record that exists. In fact, the universe duplicates everything, makes security copies of everything, so to speak. This is not the only universe. Okay? So there is a mother
Universe.
universe and a mother Akasha, which writes all the under Akashic records, so to speak. Akashic records is the fabric where we go as a soul to choose according to our vibrational match what is important. In shamanism, Fossa will explain it to you as well, that it's not like you are you're meant to choose all your failures and now make them better. And so you have to go down and try it again until you smarten up. And if you don't get it, you do it all over again. No, that's not
No.
what it is. You don't get this. Your karmic frame, your contract, is based on two elements: where you are right now in your vibrational experience. So I cannot become a messiah or a prophet if I don't have achieved a clarity or purity in that vibration. I cannot go to university if I haven't finished a certain degree in school and knowledge. I cannot go and
Yes.
build rocket science if I haven't studied something. So, and that is not good or bad. It has really to do with what is your vibration at the moment, and based on that, you choose the best possible vibrational match equivalent. And out of this infinite possibilities, you build out of total free will your life plan. And one thing we want to mention is, of course, your life plan and anything with Akasha is never ever negative. I've never in my life seen one soul contract that said, I'm going to be idiotic, bad, evil, and a mass murderer. It doesn't exist.
No.
It doesn't exist.
In other words, you can deviate from your life plan. There's a certain amount of detours that you can take, and they have consequences. And that's what many people come to understand as karma. It wasn't your karma to begin with. It's something you chose to do, like become a serial killer or become something quite negative. That has nothing to do with your life plan.
Right.
The life plan that you chose in particular, you must live. It's written down. It's a contract. You sign it and you incarnate here, in other words. Akasha itself, though, is the fifth element.
Right.
It is the fabric that the whole universe is created out of. So
It's the void.
the
Somebody
void.
on our last video wrote a question. Can you talk more about the void? The void is infinite possibilities with no end and no beginning.
And you can create out of the void,
And
especially.
everything in the universe that has sentient quality uses the void, uses this fifth element to create its own experience, all based on vibration. So if you suffer and think, or if you think you like to suffer, and you think, I should have done something more with my life, I should have done something better with my life, I should have been, trust me when I tell you, what you're doing right now is written and signed by you, and it's not inherently ever negative.
And you create your purpose. This is also part of karma.
Absolutely.
And everything aligns with that purpose.
Purpose is the chapter in your book, you see, and every incarnation, no matter on what universe, no matter on what dimension, it has a title. Some purposes are healing, others are teaching, others are organizing, managing, creating wealth, creating connectivity, being a bridge maker, rebels, you know what I mean?
Decoders.
Decoders. So there are various forms of titles, and, and because with some people we share these titles, and that's what we feel, a vibrational connectivity. I stand for truth, for something, and you too, we're going to resonate. You like the love of design. I love the love of design. We're going to connect. And so we share our vibrational identity and recognition by sharing certain titles, you can imagine.
A resonance for each other.
A
Some
resonance
people
for each
consider
other.
that karma.
Exactly, you see. And also all connections that we experience are karmic, but not because you have to experience something because something went wrong. People love to say the idea, well, my boyfriend, my husband, my wife killed me in a past life and now they have to make it up to me. No, it's not. That's just wishful thinking. Not all wishful thinking has to come true. You see, it is something that you want to learn. Relationships from a karmic point are learning aspects. We learn from each other, yeah, whatever that means. But the title is the main issue. That is the purpose. And when we do sessions, especially when I give readings, I always start with the purpose. That is why you're here, like it or not.
And then you go into the karmic conditions,
And then I go to the
which
karmic
are
conditions,
past
yes.
life karmic
Right.
conditions. And we mostly focus only on earthly lives.
Right.
Because there are a multitude of lives, multi-dimensions.
Right. But these
and,
are relevant.
And these are relevant, and there is a kind of sequence to them.
Right.
And it is affecting you now. So we only talk about the past lives that are going to affect you in this life, especially active now. So we look at, first of all, the parents, your parents, and the environment that you grew up with, because many people react to that and they create from that. Is that my karma that I was born to these parents? What was the purpose of it? And then did it help me to face or to enliven my life plan to the point where I have awareness, I have an understanding, or I learn about love, or whatever it is. Second is ancestral karma. That means your ancestors before this life, maybe back 7 generations or even longer, we've seen. So there is the karma of nations, the karma of, history of different historical periods and different empires, all that kind of stuff, and families over many generations. And then we have even, another kind of karma, which we talk about very much, which is kind of cosmic karma, which is quite positive and about evolution.
Right.
And, going higher and higher or deeper and deeper into the truth and into awareness and revelation.
That's interesting. What is the cosmic karma? The cosmic karma is when a race, a sentient being, a race of sentient beings decides to help the evolution of a planet. That is cosmic karma. In other words, we're trying to raise the vibration of ourselves, but that means you cannot raise your own vibration without raising the vibration of everything around you. You see, that's why when your life goes well spiritually, suddenly you feel great, everything makes sense, you have your healing. The next thing is your relationships go to shit, then your job is gone, then your house burns down, your friends are miserable and don't like you, and you're alone, and you say, what did I do wrong? You see, what happened, what went wrong? Nothing went wrong. When you correct your purpose or the path to your purpose, you become authentic. You become authentic and inspired. Then suddenly people will call you difficult.
Now, there are
because
karmic
they're not matching anymore.
But then there are karmic conditions that can interfere with that. When you are born, your subconscious mind is active. That's including all the things you've done in past lives. And that influences you like a patina. It's a certain kind of lens that you look through.
Cell memory.
So we have to clean our subconscious mind. Part of that is done through having a relationship with your dreams. That's one way of doing it. Because dreams are a dialogue with your subconscious mind. There are many techniques to help clear the subconscious mind, but most of it is facing your shadow, facing things that come up, especially in your youth, when karma starts to become activated at a certain age very strongly. Other than the birth script, there's much more challenges and things that you, after a while, are creating, which are obstructions in your life to become stronger, to face aspects of your own personality that have been some developed, some very undeveloped, some very immature. And to look at yourself like what I went through in my own life. There's different kinds of karma that I had to understand from my parents, from many generations before. I had to overcome the fact that maybe they can't heal themselves, my family, and to introduce a whole new idea, which was shamanism. To go beyond time, to go beyond many things, to face what is darkness inside of me, to face the things that are obstructions in my path, that I believe are there. And then once I can clear them to the degree where I don't believe it anymore, I have pride in myself, or I believe now in truth, or I discover higher truths, whatever, it sets me free. All of life becomes a liberation from karma until the point where it doesn't really affect your life anymore. You transcend karma.
Well, you see also, transcending is the key word here, because in the end, even karma is a construction that we've been told to believe, like sin and guilt. I don't make a difference to it. You see, it can be used for good and it can be used for bad, and therefore it is a human construct. karma does not exist in that sense as it's described, and it doesn't have, again, the purpose of punishing you.
No.
It doesn't happen, you see. But karma is a frame that is built out of the fabric of the fifth element. It is a desire. It's like creating out of the void. The void is really nothing but chaos, creative chaos that says, here, I'm a wild energy, make something out of me. It's like a wild garden that says, form me, create me, shape me in your
Weave the
image.
fabric, yes.
Weave the fabric. And we have a lot of mythological ideas about that. The fates, for example, who spin the fate and everything, that's really our own ability. But you choose in your karmic frame the content, the images, and the possibilities that allow you to grow, because that's the reason why you're here. Again, karmic frames do not have negative elements. Whoever tells you this, two things: has no idea what they're talking about, has no experience with it, and second, they cannot see them. I have, and I cannot tell you that it's something special, but I don't know how else not to see a karmic pattern. For me, the aura is not just a bunch of colors. It is a systemic, very organized file system of images, emotions, and feelings. And so when we do sessions and healings, for example, and very often, right from the beginning when we met,
the karmic imprints in a body.
I just go first to the purpose.
Yes.
Why are you here, and what's your purpose, and what is your karmic goal? We all have that. And in your birth date, by the way, it is the sum of your birthday, month, day, reduced year, and then all count together. And the result, that number in numerology describes the vibration or the theme of the second frame within your master frame. The frame you choose as the form, and then comes the master frame. That's the master frame, and then comes the second frame, which is the achievement frame, so to speak. And therefore, in that achievement frame, we put a goal that we don't have to, but get as close as possible to it. And if possible, surpass it.
For instance, to raise the level of consciousness on this planet.
That's the idea. That's the cosmic karmic frame. That's
so
what
that
we're all
we can
here.
move dimensionally together. That is the goal
We
for
are,
many people
we
in this
are,
life.
We are a race. We are a divine race that raises planets to higher vibrations. We as a race, what we call humans, we are a choir, an organization. We are a tribe who travels from universe to universe and establishes pillars of light, of consciousness around the universes, where we establish vibration. That's what we do as a collective. I know it doesn't look like it at times, but it's not about good or bad. It's about whatever serves the most fulfilling way. That's not always the nicest way, you know. I'm sorry to say, but as long as there's people on this planet, there's going to be conflict. So get over it.
Well,
but
yes.
that's what we do. We travel as a pack. You see, we are the aliens. Okay, we don't come from the monkeys. That's a different podcast. But we are a soul journey in traveling tribal energy, which goes from planet to planet, universe to universe, and visit, establish ourselves, and then help with our consciousness and evolution, the consciousness of the planet to rise up and go to the next dimensional experience.
And there are many people who can't go there. So that's why they call another kind of karma, meaning there are many people who make a different choice. Right. They don't want to raise their consciousness. They don't even want to work on their character. Right. And they deviate from their life plan. They take detours. They become oral schizophrenics or whatever they do. But they don't tell the truth either. And they believe their own lies after a while. And it can become quite enmeshed here. And that's when people say that's negative karma. Because now you're so lost in your own illusions, in your own lies, that you can't quite get out of it. You are in a spider's web.
And from a shamanic point, Foster, how do you know that you're off course?
You feel it.
You feel it. We say you're unhappy.
Yes. Do you
When
want
you're
to?
permanently unhappy, you are, of course, I'm telling you, it's a very simple pattern.
And you feel it every day. Do I go down that dark alley or not? Do I associate with these people or not? How does it feel? If I go there, there will be consequences to my actions. To be with those people will lower the frequency in myself, but mostly it will associate me with certain people. Do I have a mission there? Is this something I'm supposed to do there? These are part of awareness.
Right.
The less awareness you have and you keep just falling into things or burning your hands or having endless accidents because you're new to a body, well, that's not necessarily karma. That's you learning trial and error.
Right.
You're having experiences. You're
Right.
learning what earth is like.
Right.
Then there are the actions you've taken many lives, and those are imprinted in the body. They look like films inside of the body.
And the cell memories.
Cell memories.
The cell memories.
So when a shaman goes into these cell memories, you're losing power through them because you're often upset about what is there, meaning it's constantly blocking you, you're constantly revisiting it, becomes a repetition in your life. You keep creating the same patterns over and over again.
Right.
You keep looking at yourself in the same way, or you keep reproducing.
It's like a video game. You're trying
Yes.
to master that video game, and it's like me playing PlayStation, and then Foster hears me in his office. Oh no, I'm dead again. You see, he's like, did you die? I died. How did you die?
Repetitions.
I fell down. Then he says, are you done? No, I'm playing another round. That's exactly what we're doing, basically, you see. And we like doing it, funny enough. But it is two elements. What I want to point out, what Foster says, is one part of our karmic frame serves us. The other half serves the planet. It serves the energy and the spirit that hosts us. You see, therefore, our ancient families called this planet Gaia, and not Earth or that thing
or Pachamama, or the Great Mother.
Right? You see, we are being hosted here by a planet who said, "Would you please come, wonderful human tribe, with all your craziness, and help me raise the vibration."
And that's the great collective
And that
karma.
is the great collective karma, the great universal karma.
Yes.
So please get an idea when truthfully in spirituality we say we are all one. That's what it means. It's not we're all just physically interconnected because we have one genetic
when you die,
combination.
you have this feeling of there's something wrong down there. Immediately after you die, you feel like, wow, I feel relief, I feel great. Of course, you don't have any pain in your body. But then there's the feeling of there's something very wrong on earth. Things are out of balance there. Things are not quite as they seem. And I feel like I should help. I should do some service. I should give something back. I should make a contribution. This happens right after you die as well.
Missionaries.
Yes.
Missionary souls.
I feel that way when
Yeah.
I leave.
You see, and this is the idea, and this is what gives me a great relief. My guide said often, I know it doesn't look like it at the moment, but the majority on this planet are really, really good people, motivated, inspired. And I can tell you from my nightly excursions on TikTok, I have to admit, that's how I treat my insomnia. There is an impressive amount of younger people, very well studied, asking the right questions. Why do we believe this? Who told us to believe this? Who said this is right? Really smart and really enlightening in their own right already. And that makes me feel very hopeful. But from the non-physical perspective, that is what we're here to do. You see, we are world makers. This is the unity, I think, that is the most important. And Akasha follows us. Each universal tribe, if you want, has created its own Akashic record. You see, if we as 8 billion people, let's say, came together, we're traveling together in this current state, we 8 billion individuals have created a blank void.
Absolutely.
That comes from the divine consciousness. Whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter.
Watatanga,
It
Takasha,
doesn't matter
Manitou.
what you call it. It is the great supreme, as Melchizedek calls it, El Elyon, Mother, Father, God. That's the idea. So we're traveling like this, and here we are trying with each life and each non-physical incarnation as well. There's physical and non-physical incarnation. Everything in this in the gravity of this planetary system is incarnation, some physical, some non-physical. You see, not there are a lot of souls who or spirits who say, "I would never go down there. It's crazy." You know, who in his right mind would incarnate physically? So not everybody does it, but we are being supported by equally as many as are on this planet. So 8 billion at the moment, 8 billion there. So we're not alone.
But
And that's the
when
power
we
we
get
have as a
enmeshed in
unity.
the illusion here, there becomes polarity. A great deal of people are lost in polarity. They want to start a new war now. They're already making factions for a new war with fascists or, there is already a countering people who are more regressive, who would like to go against the grain now. And again, you have a war within yourself, you make a war outside.
Right.
You get lost in polarity of good and evil, right and wrong. You are caught in that web. And that kind of karma has consequences.
And
you make war, it comes back to you. You're in an inner war with yourself.
Right.
Until you make peace within yourself.
Yes. My guide once said about conflict, also war is conflict. And the reason why it is when we accept the view of a leader and ignore our own. That's when war is built.
And that's called giving up your power. Giving it up to somebody who is not honorable, who is not worthy of that kind of power. And that we see all over the world now, Christos.
Yeah. Yes.
And so we have to be very careful who we follow, what beliefs we follow. And in fact, to me, the end of karma is the end of dogma.
And the end of following.
The end of following,
Right.
the end of following any doctrine or any belief system that is not in alignment with your own truth, with what you truly feel inside, that is guided really through your life plan, through your soul, through your evolution.
Yeah. So I hope you get the idea that we have a much larger opinion about humans than humans themselves at the moment, even if it doesn't look this way. Again, it's not always black and white.
Because they fall asleep in their subconscious mind. They fall asleep on
see.
earth. They don't realize exactly what they're doing, and they don't see the different layers that are from the past or even from right now what they're creating.
And that's why we say to all of you who are somewhat awake, come out wherever you are. Come out wherever you are, physical or non-physical. We need now every help. It doesn't matter because we need to make sure that no one surrenders to anyone's view other than the universal view, which is to be a good person, to serve yourself, to be proud of who you are.
And follow yourself.
And to follow yourself and be a person of principle and ethic and moral. You all know what's right or wrong. You see what I mean? But
honor.
make sure absolutely honorable. And so this is, again, the beginning of our little talk about karmic frames. Then we have, of course, literally the karmic frame of past lives, which are cell memories. And cell memories sometimes in psychology, I think the term that you're using for in shamanism is, oh my God, I'm blanking. It's called, it's late at night in Master's
You have to refer to this again.
It is, you call it, good God, oh my God.
Ancestral memory? Or...
No, you call it, welcome to life. That's what happens when you get older. It's on my tongue. Anniversary effect.
The anniversary effect.
The anniversary
repetition.
effect. You see? Took me 10 minutes.
That's from an imprint
That's
in your
from
life.
that's
that
from
keeps
an imprint.
repeating.
An imprint.
Like a record that keeps skipping and skipping to
Exactly.
the same place.
Some impulses can leave an imprint. Not everything leaves a dent in your system. And dents can be karmic, past lives, and they can be also in this life. And so when you see, for example,
they look like scars in the body. Sometimes they look like stained glass windows that are scratched.
Exactly. And that means that I knew this man who basically said, I don't know why my relationships all end after 3 years. They're great, they're wonderful, and the moment it's 3 years, something is ending, is finishing, even without trying. It just, you see, and it says 2, 3, 4 times. I mean, am I cursed? You see, that doesn't exist, so stop it. And
people do self-curses, and especially in families.
But we're going to talk about it.
And you do have to illuminate those things. You have to finally become aware of them, and then the karma releases. Okay. You make a decision in that moment.
And all I asked is, what happened when you were 3 years old? And he says, my father left my mother. There you go. You see, it's very simple. If you go back in your life, especially in the impression years, which is from basically conception, it impression is not conception really. I have to correct it. It is about the 8th month of the pregnancy. That's when the most important impressions start, because you're being called. You know, there's a pull here, a gravitational pull, natural pull to come into this world, and therefore you are born basically, and the impression begins. And when some impressions are really intense, like a trauma, for example, then the cell memory celebrates it. For the anniversary effect, it brings it up one more time, like a reminder. Now it's time to let go and start something new. Now it's time to let go. But it can be quite disruptive. The same with karmic frames. Past lives are being evaluated. They are not the result of where you failed and now you have to come down and do it all over again because you're so miserable.
No.
Not at all. It is actually, especially you see this with parents. I love my parents. I don't know who the hell they are. You know, I look like my mother, so it's clear that, we're related. But more than once, we were joking around, thought, where the hell do they come from? And even my mom used to say, where did you pop out from? You're so different than us, you see? And we call this sometimes the black sheep. And the black sheep is somebody who chooses a family. There's nothing karmic about it, but you choose to enter a family lineage that hasn't evolved. So when a lineage, a family tradition is going on and meandering around,
stagnates,
suffocates. Somebody says, listen, I don't know these people, I don't know who that is, but that looks really bad. I'm gonna go down and try to transcend this stagnation.
But we take it on. We take on their shadows.
And by that
we take on the whole
yes.
thing because we have had experience with that before.
Right.
And so we see it as a challenge.
Right.
And we have to get through that challenge, taking on the karma, for instance, of a murderer, just to get into a body. Some people do not have karma when they come into a body, so they take on karma. Like if you had slavery in a past life and you were against that principle and you come in again in order to get into a life.
And sometimes people have incarnated to become a teacher to their parent.
Absolutely.
They have no relation to them, not one relation in that sense, but...
Or you see one of your parents suffering, so you incarnate to them as a guide to them because you want to save them. Maybe they're in a dire situation and they're not going to be able to make it.
There is an agreement on the other side, whatever that means for you. And in that side, we meet people according to our vibration. You don't meet everybody. No. You meet only those entities, souls, spirits, that match your vibe and you match their vibe. And when somebody says, you know what, I incarnated 10 times, I'm still an idiot, I still don't get it, I wish I had a teacher in my life. Or something. You say, you know what, I'm really educated. I don't need an incarnation, but I'm more than happy to come down. This is how karma is built. People think that every relationship is karmic. It's not. It's more than often a complete fresh one, a complete new one, you see.
Now, often the people that you come for reject you. Mm-hmm. They betray you. They don't want to listen to you, and they no longer want to develop spiritually.
Right.
So then you're kind of caught in the web of the illusions of your family for a time, wondering, what am I doing here? What am I doing on this planet? I came to help. I came to help my whole family, and then they don't want you. So is that karma, or is that really a betrayal?
There you go. You see, because when you have it, and I've seen this a few times in sessions, that a person says, I feel lost. Because I thought I know I have a purpose, but I'm lost, and then I go back to the original imprint of an emotional trauma, and the way it shows to me is what I described is that person said, listen, I'm more than willing to come down, be your son, be your daughter, be your partner, be your mother, and help you in your evolution. But by the time you are meeting physically, that other person says, I'm not interested
anymore in the agreement,
and
or
you
anything.
will sit there and think, then what the hell am I doing here? Because I didn't need to incarnate, really. I really came because you begged me to do it, you see. And this is what I call, in my tradition, I call it a contractual betrayal. So suddenly a chapter in your contract is null and void because the original deal is out.
Then you have to create a new life plan, a new idea why you're here, a new purpose.
And that is why
that's quite difficult.
That is quite difficult, you see. And that's what we do sometimes in retrospect. We get older. We get older. And very often people come and they look lost. I always look if their contract was betrayed. And boy, it happens more often than you think.
Then we have a lot of people who have a great deal of light. They come here with light, and then they are raped. They are perhaps even in college. I had a woman that came, and there was a date rape, and she didn't remember it. And then I started to talk about it in her body, because for a shaman, that's where you lost your power. That's where you're spending too much time leaking energy. Right. So we go into that area. I always try to go as direct as possible. Some trauma in childhood, maybe it's a beating, maybe it's a stranger that came into your house, maybe it's something after school, whatever it is. And you get to that exact moment, like many people call that soul retrieval. But really, people are losing power. They're losing a sense of themselves. They're losing a connection to their true self. You understand? To their spirit, which is sent by your soul. So the soul, remember, always lives in a soul world and sends your spirit here. So you always have an aspect of the divine that is a light inside of you. But the kind of soul essence, your spirit, it lights up in you. And some people have it quite strong. And so people try, especially certain kinds of people, to kind of take that. Like when you're going into puberty, they specifically, just as you're about to go you, they go for you and they try to take the light. Or maybe when you're coming into your power, your individuality, while you're in college. Or you're in a moment when you're drunk or something and somebody takes advantage of you. You have to be quite vigilant in life. You have to really honor your own light and stop putting it down and stop feeling that there's something wrong with you. That there's something innately bad in you, or that you're a loser, or that you're...
Anything like this. I'm telling you, this is all part of the human development. You see, that's what we're being told. But also, you cannot open a magazine anymore that tells you if you don't look like that, something's wrong with you. And you know it's Photoshop to hell and to death. And you still say, I should have looked like this. You see, you know that it's fake and you're still reacting to it.
So you have to recover by finding once again your own power, which is an empowerment. Find out what you really are, and that's taking out the layers.
Right.
So you take off all the agreements you have in your life, the different illusions of life. There are agreements to society, to medicine, to politics, to whatever. You have all sorts of different agreements to different things once you're in a body. Right. And you must divulge all those agreements. You have to break them. You have to get back to your essence, to what is authentic in you. And that takes time, because you have to go through layers of trauma. And once those layers, those karmic layers that now have reverberations, that now affect other things in your life, where you can't get ahead or you can't make money. Like we talk often about how spiritual people have this one idea, religious people too, of poverty consciousness, or the fact that you cannot be connected to spirit unless you're poor, unless you
give for free.
Everything
it's all open. You have to be in service. Ridiculous.
Because people take advantage of you. They take everything from you, and there's really nothing left to give. You're actually here to be an example for other people. So you must build up all your power, to have all your power, to be an example, to emanate, to become that teacher. And if you keep giving it away in parts of yourself, you become fragmented. So you have to gather the fragments together and start to give them a new purpose, a cleansing. There's a whole level of cleansings that cleanse out what we call the karmas, or the illusions, or the subconscious beliefs. There are many things there.
Karma really are misconceptions, you know, because it is an illusion. Karma is an illusion. It is a form that was created to manipulate. Let's call it what it is. If you do this, you're going to be punished. If you do that, God hates you. If you don't follow us, only we are the good ones, you are the out ones. This is human-made poop. That's what it is. It does stop that, okay?
The karma of telling people it's the end of the world and everything's going to go down. You have to follow me. How absurd that is. And people are still doing that today, building bunkers, doing all these things because, we're not going to have food, and we're, there's going to be that moment of darkness, and we're changing dimensions. Many Indians have told me, you got to run for the hills when that happens, because there's only going to be chaos here.
I think when we see such a global disconnect from each other, people are much more prone to sit together and say, yeah, the earth is flat. I mean, it's complete nonsense. But I think that what happens is when we really lose connection to ourselves and with each other, we start to become almost almost puppets for people who put stuff out there. And I always told you, also in the protection video that we said about protection action, is that don't believe anything that cannot be proved. You see, and
Please use
you
common
have
sense.
common sense. You have to really wonder, why is this crazy world happening right now? Why are the politics we have globally, by the way, the economy, everything? It's because we are being manipulated by certain individuals, certain groups, certain news, certain media, and so on, to not talk to each other. That's why COVID was permitted to come in, at least to give us a chance to say, I do miss my neighbor. I mean, I don't like him, but I do miss him, you see, and I hope they're okay. We started for a moment caring. It was the same thing like after 9/11. New York was the nicest city you can imagine. It lasted 6 months and everybody went back to normal. You can make out of this what you want, but it was this one moment when a tragedy, a global impact, really connects us globally, you see, and how wonderful it was. I loved all these videos when I saw people singing from balconies to each other and cheering with a beer that they had, and how we celebrated those who kept us going, with Uber drivers and nurses and doctors and policemen and so on. All gone, you see, all gone. We're now back and worse in being misled by opinions of other people. Why? Because we don't make an effort in our own truth. And that is the global karmic frame that we share all with our individual karmic frame. So we have to juggle here 5 balls basically, and hopefully nothing falls down, because there is a certain fragility in not following yourself. As Foster says, you become a puppet. You start to absorb opinions and then say, yep, that's what it is. At least I'm not alone in being disconnected.
Well, that's the personal karma of a follower, somebody who copies their parents all their lives, who copies often even the negative things of their parents, just as a solidarity with their parents.
Right.
And that is something you also have to overcome through awareness. You have to start to realize eventually that maybe I must think for myself. I must really become an independent person from my parents' expectations of me, from what they believe or what they did not live in their lives. That we then are confronting in ourselves. So
But that is the inner work.
and it's a
That is
very
the
deep
inner
work.
work, you know.
And the same
we're
with a
talking-
society,
and
same
we're-
with prejudice.
And we're talking to you, some of you
Or
people
racism,
who
yes.
buy 500 books and never read them. You are the worst, okay? Stop wasting paper. But isn't that interesting? We see this a lot, that people have really everything to their disposal, more than ever. But they're willing to say, yeah, that nonsense sounds right. And sure, it's flat. I mean, you see what I mean? You have to start waking up. I think this is really our Garden Eden moment, where we have to follow the snake. We have to follow the symbol, the original symbol of fertility, and generate some power out of us. And therefore, let's go back to the concept of karma, that not to lose our theme. Karma is a fabric. It's not a book that says, here's your manual, now go down and live as much as you can after that manual. Ridiculous. And no one asks you to do anything except find happiness.
You wrote your book.
You wrote your book, you see, but more important, you chose exactly those elements that you know you can handle. So even if physical life is very challenging, I guarantee you, you wrote it in because you can handle it. You are made of a fabric. There's a certain power in your blood that runs through your veins that says, screw it, even if it's I'm gonna make it. And you do.
And that's
And
what's
you
so
do,
heroic.
and
That's
that
what
is
really is honorable.
Really, you see, and there's a lot of
truth.
people that we consider heroes when we see you. We have the greatest compassion for all the people we work with, even if we don't like them, by the way.
There are
There's
many-
some I don't like.
There are many kinds of heroes. I look back in the history of my own family. I looked back at, there were heroes in my own family who led Greece to independence. Right. Of course, they went to war, whatever, but they would have been slaughtered. So they went to war and they freed Greece. Then I have heroes, that people who adopted children that nobody wanted, the children that are different, who later grew into an art form that was incredibly unique. And then their tribes or whatever came and said, I want this child back because this child is important, now for our tribe. And you say, no, you rejected them before, you cast them out, and I adopted them. They're my child, right. And they're under my protection now. Right. So this is also honor. The people who died in the ghost dance, the people who believed in all these things, I honor them. Great healers who pass away, we honor them. You see that less and less now. I have many friends who were great healers. And when they died, the sunset was different. There was that kind of honoring and less people around them. So I think all of us, we're finding the community of those people that have also transcended karma. The people who have broken many, many agreements in their life. And they are, in fact, black sheep because they are following their own drummer, their own way.
No one who followed the rules ever changed the world. No. So get it in your head, you see. But again, it is what you are and who you are versus what you've been told who you are. And therefore, it's never about what people do to you. It's what people make you do to yourself. That is an important karmic injury, we would call it. Therefore, do you have to follow your contract just because you went to the void and said this, and this because I feel it? No, you don't have to follow the contract. The contract is frames. There are multiple frames in it. The content is created through lateral movement. It means it's always shifting and interchangeable. In other words, sometimes people, when they choose, for example, I want to get to this point where I'm 35, and at 35, I want to make sure that I wake up. And so there's also the contemplation, what if it doesn't happen? And then you say, write in, if I don't get it, then I want in September 5th, 2022, to have a total car crash. I want to fly through the window shield. I want to be in a coma, lose both legs, and get a grip on myself, because that will really be a great impact in case I don't get it. You write it in. Now, these are markers. These are important markers. Now let's assume, and this is really something that happens often, you surpass this concept. You actually work great on you. You do the inner work. You surrender to yourself. You have woken up. You have taken necessary steps for whatever reason to heal yourself. And then you're coming to that 35-year-old, for example. It's just an example, right? That one day where you said, and by the way, just let me fly through the windshield. Do you think you would experience this still if it's not that? No. The void, the lateral movement of the void, the akashic fabric, will alter the impact of that situation. In other words, you choose the marker that you can't change. So you put a marker in, but the void and the intelligence of the akashic frequency alters the impact of that choice. So you're not going to go and crash against a tree. Somebody will come and just dent your car. Or somebody will scratch it while opening their own door. You can survive this. You can live with this, you see. But you understand, something has to happen when you set a marker. We will talk about deja vu.
And we had different markers, right? Different times in our lives.
Different lives. But it doesn't mean that between I want to burn in my car to getting a scratch, it doesn't mean I have to, no matter what. That wouldn't make sense, you see. So Akashic records are being rewritten as you live, as you breathe, as you sleep, as you dream, as you awake. It's a constant movement.
There's an underground movement too in us that really has to emerge. Like our own decisions in our lives, our own light starts to emerge. When I was 24, 25 years old, there was an exact day in March in which I just woke up. It was a marker. The day before, I was a completely different person. Much more materialistic, much more in the world, and then the next day I was completely someone else, like an Indian or something. I started to build medicine wheels and all sorts of things in New York City. I had a total waking up there. and people recognize it. People came up to her and
Right.
said, "You have just
Right.
opened. Something has happened."
And this is so important. How do you recognize you're at a marker? The environment will worry about you. What's wrong with you? That's a common theme. Something's off with you. You seem different. You're mean. You're not that nice. I can't take advantage of you. What is wrong with you? The environment will recognize something is happening.
But that marker was so strong for me that for the next 12 years, I went through a training in shamanism.
Right.
That lasted quite a long time. So I was 24 all the way till 36 years old when I really felt I was ready to come out into the world.
That's why also in readings, timing is so difficult. You see, because you understand, because of the
Timings.
lateral movement, it shifts back and forth, and sometimes the timing comes, but the impact is not the same the way you've written it. You see, and I've seen also time frames in contracts where somebody says, at that point, I want to meet my soulmate. This is another bullshit idea, but let's call it the soulmate. It's going to be great, and I'm never going to get out of bed again because we're going to have sex until the end of days. And nothing happens. You see, the marker comes and passes. And we say, what did I do wrong? Your vibrational match did not match the marker. So it's like dating on an app, and you say we are meeting in a cafe, and the only person who shows up is you. Where's the other guy? They flake on you, right? They ghost you. And this is the idea. You can, as you say sometimes, miss the door, or miss the bus, or miss the entrance and exit points. And that's why we use, it's really difficult to see this in, and without making a self-fulfilling prophecy out of it, it's really difficult to see this only in energy. You need, and that's what I use sometimes astrology, sometimes very often numerology, because I've been a numerologist. And in numerology, because it's science, it's mathematics, 1 and 1 is 2.
Astrology and numerology.
I can look, where are you in your energy field, and how close or far away are you in your timetable, we would say, basically. You see, because time is an illusion. It's the only thing we measure, and it doesn't really exist, but here we are doing it. But yet, these are marker points in our chart,
Absolutely.
and
That's
they
fascinating.
stay. They don't move.
So,
But the impact, the experience, that will be altered.
and
As
it's
I said,
triggered by different things. Like for me, one was triggering by a book. Then later I met the author of that book. And then later that author needed a reading, a session with me, and a healing, and the whole family. Then another time it was I saw a film. I saw a film called Made in Heaven. And I went with a group of people in Arizona to see the film. Nobody had any reaction. They were like, oh, whatever, that film. And I had to leave them and cry in the bathroom. Just cry and cry for a half an hour. And I have no idea what moved me so much in this film. It was a longing for the beloved. I always felt married inside, this beloved idea. But all of a sudden I had a yearning and a desire for love, for that specific beloved. And within a year, I met Christos. So, and I even gave rules. I said, I want, whatever, the white brotherhood. I said, I want very specific kind of person who's evolved, and da-da-da. And I said it so clearly, but I'm not going to settle for anything less in this life. And I didn't know, is that a marker? Am I willing it to happen? What is it? But everything was in alignment. And then 6 months later, it happened.
it was the same with me.
As a surprise.
You call this in English when the stars align. But this is really a synchronicity of markers.
Outside
and
of
again,
time.
the circumstances we met were quite difficult. And, he lived half the planet around in the US.
And it was too early when we met. We felt it. It's
It was too early, exactly. But it aligned. But again, this happens because there's a prerequisite of experience, you see. And I had just left a relationship, and I said, not that. That's not going to happen. So the moment I redefined and not compromised, and that is important when you ask, how can I make a decision in a positive decision? All your decisions are positive in your frame, really, okay? I want this marker in its full definition, or nothing at all.
Right.
And this is what my advice that I give you is this. And you
Because I learned
represent
what
this-
I didn't want. We had
you-
relationships of what we didn't
course.
want. We
And
went through experiences
you see-
to realize what we want.
And again,
feel
that contributes. But in the end, I realized also in my work and in observation that when people succeed and they get what they want, that's exactly what it is. They say there is no plan B. You see, if you have a plan B in your decision making, you need to reevaluate yourself, you see. And this is when we compromise. Well, I ended up with this guy. Or, well, I'm doing that, but it's not what I wanted to do. This is when we are being in a compromised state, you see. And that's also what Foster mentioned, is that's the moment when you lose energy. You lose energy. It's a given idea. So then you have to retrieve the energy. Therefore, I hope you understand, karma is not a punishment. It is a constant interchanging communication with the ether, with the void, with the supreme intelligence that serves us as a human race in our evolution, physical and non-physical, until we erase this planet and go to the next galaxy, to the next, and say, hey guys, 8 billion, 10 billion, let's come together, let's do the same on this planet.
Well, I have great respect for medicine work and pride in that kind of work. And when I'm doing that work, it will repel anybody who's not meant to be there, for instance. So sometimes I was doing my own work and people would come into it and they would run away, they would criticize it, they wouldn't understand it, any kind of medicine work. And I thought, this medicine, you're not there yet. You don't really see it, you don't see the value in it. So in that sense, does that mean it's not your karma to be there? Is it the wrong place? Did you choose a life plan only for security and to finally have the material things you never had in other lives? That's fine. You let people go. But your evolution takes quite a stance when you have pride in yourself,
Yes,
when you have
absolutely,
pride in your work, when you, even though it's coming to you, it's the spirit working through you, as I always felt, you still have great respect for it as it comes through you. You as a medium, you as in many respects.
I think this is something that Foster refers, because it was my biggest eye-opening a couple of months ago, because I wondered what makes a winner, and I was watching these reruns of Oscar winners, and it was on Facebook, and I had coffee and I didn't know what else to do, so here I am wasting my time, and I was wondering what makes this actor, this director win and not the other one. What makes this costume, what makes you a winner? And I thought, what do they do? Do they have a better vision board? Do they ask enough? Do they sacrifice more? Do they want it more? Do they wish it more? And my guide said, none of that. The person who chooses to be the most proud of the work they've done will win. And I thought that was such a profound and such an easy and yet surprising hint, because we learn not to be proud. Yeah, in Scandinavia, right, there is actually a word for it. Our Scandinavian friends, we love you. From Charlotte to Marie to Maybrit, we
All
love
of
you
Charlotte's family.
all of
All our
they
friends in
told
Denmark.
us so often there is a term for don't you
Sweden.
dare and think you're something better. And I'm telling
Oh my
you,
God, terrible.
working in Denmark and going into that topic was hard not to break sometimes, because it's so embedded into their culture, you see.
That's a karma you let into yourself and you start to believe it. You
Right.
are what you believe.
Right, you see.
And if you believe in karma, then you're trapped in that web.
Right. And so my guide said, we want you to tell people in your podcast, they're great fans of the podcast idea. They say, finally, you did it. They say, tell people that the most important feeling to break out of stagnation in any shape or form is to start having a sense of pride for who they are, for what they've done, and to look back and not say, well, I haven't done really much. To stay out of comparison, but to really see, what, I've done a lot. I've raised children. I've taken care of people. I've been kind. I've been trying to pay my taxes. I haven't stolen anything. I am immensely excited when somebody says on Twitter, today I have 100 days being sober. I don't know this person. I feel such pride and such happiness for these people because we know how difficult it is. You see, this is somebody who's never been high in his life, by the way. One beer, I look at it and I'm keeling over.
And to overcome
It-
self-destruction,
Absolutely, you see, absolutely.
self-defeating beliefs.
And when people get sober, clear up their act, really come to their senses, that is a shimmer in their aura. You cannot even, it's like a disco ball times 20, you see? And that reinforcement of energy.
The
is
first one in their
self-healing.
ancestors who's not an addict.
Right.
After a long period of addictions in
Right.
a family.
You see,
That's
you
courage.
choose to break the sympathy and the solidarity with suffering in your family. And by that you say, not only I don't want to be with them or I don't want to be like them, but you say, I have compassion for them, but I don't have to share in my compassion the same experience.
I'm a
And
witness
that's
to the
what
fire.
turns
I'm
it.
no longer going to enter the fire.
Right.
Fire drinks, fire water, whatever. You start to witness and you start to detach from it.
So
This is the unraveling that is part of
Right.
karma.
Yeah.
And it is for good. And sometimes the unraveling takes a very long time and something takes a blink of an eye.
Right.
One time I was doing an unraveling of karma and I was told to go to a place called the place of formation. That's what some people call it, or a kind of white on white world where I was meditating too. So I would meditate to everything being white and I would sit there and it would be a reset for me. And I would actually go with one specific idea, the resetting of all karma. The resetting. And then I would come back from the meditation and things would start to go into motion. Everything around me would have to conform to what I had asked for there.
Right.
And things just started to leave my life, or really very strong events happened. And then finally one day I felt a peace. I felt like it had happened. And then I started to help people to transition to the other side who were dying. Because it's always a kind of, when you go beyond death, when you go to that other world, the white on white, you're also transitioning in a bardo kind of idea, or the in-between. And there is no karma there. There is nothing like that. There is the feeling of, where do I want to go? Where do I want to see people that I've loved? What would I like to
What's
do?
next?
What's next? And things fall off of you. And you remember that feeling and then you come back to yourself here.
Right.
You restructure yourself, your whole internal life after that. You write things down from those experiences. This is something you can will if you really desire it. So desire is very important because it's what making the world
Everything
move.
spin.
Everything.
Everything makes. If
The
you don't-
universe is made of
see,
desire.
If we've been told that desire is the source
Negative.
of all evil, and it is the honor your mother and your father. What am I going to do if my mother and my father are Hitler? Difficult. You know what I mean, or crazy, or abusive.
You honor your parents if they are
If
honorable.
they're honorable. Exactly.
If your father is a
If-
rapist, you do not honor
How
him.
do you honor that? You see, there you go. And that is the idea. It's easy to hate somebody we never met, or to be a troll on the internet, or these are people in the basement who have nothing else to do. But in the end of the day, when we sympathize, when we are meant to love somebody, but that love comes with consequence of
If it hurts, it's
pain.
not love, right?
There you
Yes.
go. You see, that's when you are inauthentic. And I guarantee you that I've seen it a million trillion times. When somebody starts to awaken, feel better, question what you've been told, start to make your own decisions, start to follow your own path, your own philosophy, then suddenly everything that you had around that doesn't match this vibration will fall apart. And this is like a toxic a purging.
Detoxing.
It's a purging element. People say, I feel amazing after the workshop, after the healing. I did my rituals, I did my soul retrieval, and now my husband left me, my kids hate me, my sister hates me, my mother is gone, and my job is gone. What did I do wrong? You have left a toxic habit, you see. And therefore, again, your job, unless you choose so, and we're going to talk a little bit about choice, because karma and the akashic frequency, when you go to bed and sleep, and dream. One conversation every night you have, especially at night, with the void is, what else and how else do you want to continue this? It's not like you're waking up every day in the same dimensional reality. You're shifting quite a bit. So it's not Alzheimer when you wake up and think, I wonder in the last 20 years if my light switch was always on the left side and not on the right side. Maybe I'm losing it right now. Or I have my key here. Why is my key not there? Where did I put my key? I must getting old or dementia. You're shifting.
This is your main self here.
Yes.
But you have copies of yourselves in many dimensions.
Absolutely.
And those dimensions now are much more easily accessible, Christos. We are in a kind of time travel moment. We are moving dimensions every day. So when you wake up in the morning, you want to program that. You want to say before you go to sleep, I wake up in the best dimensional reality for myself.
For myself.
Which could be health, it could be prosperity, it could be connection to the divine, it could be pure spirit. Whatever you want, you ask for it before you go to bed, and you do it for at least 40 days, 40 nights.
I intend to wake up in the best possible, healthiest, most fulfilling, most healthiest, most successful dimensional reality. And so when you wake up, you basically reaffirm this, I am awake in the best possible dimensional reality with your goal. The key is, again, you need to train the brain and the mind to accept this belief, because the mind doesn't know if you mean it or not. You see, it takes everything for granted, by the way. So it's like, it's all real, right? Therefore, be careful what you say and what you think, because words matter. But also the idea of definition of what kind of reality you want to experience. And this is a different form of altering the karmic frame. It's not like, let's see what crap will happen tomorrow, or, well, another crappy day tomorrow. That's karma in that purest essence. But the void and the fabric and the alchemy of this of the fabric gives you every day and says, where do you want to wake up tomorrow? What do you want to experience tomorrow?
And you choose
every
that.
Hour. And
that's an unraveling of karma. That's an ending of karma.
Yes.
That's a transformation of it in which you're becoming enlightened, or you're becoming aware, or you're becoming truthful.
Well, you become empowered, first of all. You
Absolutely.
See? Because then these rules that are being told, don't you wish anything bad to somebody? It comes back to you. Of course it doesn't. Because, look, great things happen to really terrible people at the moment, and good things happen and bad things happen to really good people. Give me a break with the karmic frame. If that would be true, I'm a decent person. We all would be now in a palace somewhere on the moon or something. I mean, what I mean.
Also, don't contradict yourself. If you're going to go on a good path or whatever, like the consistency not to drink, don't contradict it by drinking. Don't all of a sudden fall off the wagon. If it happens, yes, it's human, but each contradiction has a huge impact.
Right.
Especially when you've made a commitment to yourself.
Right. And you have to. Foster says something really, really important, and I want to give you this. He always says to people, and he asks people in certain stages of the reading or the healing, when they're just in resistance, I want to get better, but don't heal me too much because, I'm not worth it, or God knows what.
Then I stop.
He says, how do you choose to be respected? That is such an important statement, you see, because we're so habituated in acting, talking, doing, and, it doesn't matter, and it's okay. Wait a minute. How are we choosing to be respected? And am I maintaining the self-respect in my own life? You can't expect people to do this for you. That is your job. Your happiness, your self-respect, your self-empowerment is your job and no one else. And if you hope that somebody else does it, then you're doing yourself a disservice because you make yourself dependent, you see.
And when you connect someone to a great light, to a creator, to spirit, however you want to see divinity, when you ask for the overshadowing of somebody to, in fact, wake them up, to end these karmas, to be completely clear, that enlightenment or that kundalini, whatever you're going to do for them, if they're ready, it happens in 2 seconds. They have a complete clearing and they feel lighter.
Right.
And then that is the moment where everything you say, feel, think, every decision now is a new life. So don't create the past.
Right.
Don't go backwards. Don't go back to things in your subconscious
Especially
mind.
don't do it because you know how to fix it.
Exactly.
You see, it's like getting fat, but then getting a great diet and you're losing the fat. Then you say, I can pork myself because I know how to lose it. Back and forth, back and forth. At some point, the body says, screw you, I'm not responding anymore.
So
That's
break
exactly
the
what
old
happened.
habits.
Exactly.
Step by
You see.
step, breaking your habits, a little at a time.
Yeah.
And also not contradicting yourself, because that becomes a terrible habit, to keep denying that you're even making the progress. So the unraveling of a person, the disentanglement from karma, quite a sticky thing. A lot of things happen, a lot of subconscious stickiness. But as you get through it, there are moments of real relief. There are moments of, I'm breaking of every kind of dogma,
And
every kind of thing I was taught,
you manage
every
this,
agreement.
Yes. And once you manage this, you become a beacon of light for the world around you. And
Best feeling.
It's the most honorable feeling you can have. You know, my guide said, because, you know, I tend to complain sometimes, you know, about my life, like for 2 minutes, then I clean the toilet to get over it. But sometimes I complain. My guide says, are you even aware what an honor it is when another person feels that you could help them to get the answers because you have a connection that they don't have? And you can provide this connection in any shape or form. You see, and that kind of, you know,
That's a joy, yes.
that's a joy. That kind of keeps me level-headed again. And then I still have to clean the toilet, but I feel better, you know what I mean, doing it? You know what I mean? So you understand, we want to really, and we hope
You chop wood and carry water after.
Yeah, absolutely. We wanted to give you a little bit the idea how creative karma is and how creative akasha is. And that there are many akashas to many different civilizations, and there are the extraterrestrials that absolutely exist, and they are all advanced, and we would say, why the hell are they so advanced? What do they have in you know, ahead of us? It is that they have risen as a collective into the next dimension because they realized we can manipulate the energy that is around us because everything is energy. You see? And unless you believe it and you feel the belief, you have to live some pre-programmed reality. But once you realize you can order yourself a parking space and the most, you say, I do this all the time. I always get a parking space. I said, then why don't you get the rest that is available? Oh, that's a little difficult. But the parking space is doable.
Karma can be very automatic.
Oh, yes.
It can be very mechanical.
Yes.
It can make you into an automaton. And that's what you want to avoid in your life.
Yeah.
You don't want to accept these beliefs anymore, like beliefs of caste systems also, the belief of these kind of things. I understand the order that they try to create for society, but then there's always got to be a lower caste.
Right.
And they can't go and they can't move caste systems. That we're here to break. We have this idea of equality. We have kind of higher principles that we follow. And that kind of burns, or it kind of enlightens, or it kind of, a light itself can put on fire this kind of karma. It kind of burns. It kind of burns away. It kind of reveals underneath it the illusion or the old roots that it once laid in. And when you tear out all those roots, roots from your parents, roots from many, you know, different inputs, and you start to follow your own way, you're on new soil. You can plant your own garden, your own way.
And that's a great empowerment, you know, and we are here to help you guys for this. I mean, we do nothing else but that.
And some people believe that's following your heart.
And it is, isn't it?
The middle way.
This was again, you know, we said we're going to make a half an hour. Here we are, an hour and a half later. But we could really talk a lot. But we want to invite you, encourage you to check out our work that we have. Thanks to COVID, we created this huge library of
library,
knowledge and experience. And there's follow the website, please. And you're going to see, don't download the videos unless you have the Pentagon as a hard drive. The files are large, great to stream them. Okay, no problem.
Oh, yeah, they're great.
And once you get them, you always have access to it.
Yes.
That's the one part. And then, of course, we are at the moment touring again. We are now at the East Coast, and we are in Martha's Vineyard. So I pray that the connection will last here, because we are in an SOS field of emergency, and internet is a little spotty.
And you know, I
But
wrote
here
about
we
all
are.
of this and karma
You
and
wrote
everything in
about
my
this.
book, When
Right.
Lightning Strikes a Hummingbird.
Right.
And we have put into our family, we put into everything we do,
We work a lot with this
how
idea.
you end karma, how you break out of the illusions,
Right.
and what is freedom.
And of course, there's more to it, you see. But I hope that within the frame of this podcast, and you know, really what we're doing is just talking to each other. We just look at the camera. is to inspire you.
We share the joy we have together.
It's
too.
a lot, absolutely. You see. So next time you're going to see a different background, because we're going to be in a hotel room in New York, and the noise level is going to be in New York. So
Christos
get ready
is
for that.
quite amazing that he pinpoints exactly the karmic condition of a person. And just hearing it, you never know where it's going to resonate in their life or what they feel, but it starts to order the story of their life, the myth of their life. And then it's my job to interpret that, to put that through the body, and you actually have a complete healing. Because these old imprints leave. And what is left, how can you describe it? It's
Void. Pure void.
Pure void, a whole new beginning.
Pure fabric, and you
Create
and
out of
only you are allowed to program it or to morph it or to move it. If you go backwards, you're an idiot. You deserve your misery. But if you take advantage of this empowerment that is in you anyway, we just
Wipe
clean
the
up.
slate clean.
Oh, it's always the greatest joy when we see people and they say, you know, that helps
so
me. Or this.
light. I
But
feel clear.
Also, you're doing this for 40 plus years. I do this
Yes.
for over 30 years. You know, I'm telling you,
Nothing more I would rather do. than
there
this.
we go. You see, so we're devoted to this, and we hope that you kind of enjoyed this podcast. Please
Tell other
share.
people, please.
It's called share, subscribe. What is the other one?
Subscribe, yeah.
Share. No, I said this.
We're gonna keep
share, subscribe, and
We do this every week.
there's something else.
consistently.
I'm telling you, we are terrible amateurs. I'm sure this is all blurry, you know, but I don't care.
I'm so grateful. I hope everybody one day
Like.
has their book of gratitude.
It's not like. I
and
got
that you
it.
write your book of gratitude. There's so much to be grateful for.
Like,
Even
subscribe,
something little.
and share. Like, subscribe, and share. Okay? Give us a like, give us a thumbs up, share this so that we know that you like these videos, that you like these podcasts, that we should continue with them, that
And-
and that we know that it's reaching somebody.
And when I've ever been around people free of karmic conditions, free of the idea of karma, they are refreshing like a stream. They're refreshing like water. I find that to be one of the great environments to always be in. And you resonate with it, eventually there's no more illness. You feel great.
Okay. This is us today. Episode 3 is done. Now we're going to get ready for bed because it's quite late. And we wish you a great, or good morning wherever you are. Okay,
Yes.
Australia, hello.
Love from Martha's Vineyard.
Love from Martha's Vineyard. And thank you for sharing this with us and being with us and having some fun. Don't forget, we're human. We have to make some fun. If you
Yes.
don't think that the universe has humor, look at the next person beside
Look at
you.
your neighbor, yes.
Bye.
Bye. Oh.